Hey, welcome to Your Health Moment. I'm Dr. Fitness, and today's episode, we're talking about exercise. And not all exercise is good for you. Now, I mean, that sounds kind of weird, but so let me kind of explain where I'm going with this. It really does depend on your goal. Most people embark on an exercise program and they have no idea what their goal is. The first thing I suggest is that you have a clear understanding of what you want to accomplish. You know? Now, there are cookie cutter type exercise plans that you can find in random magazines that might work for a certain amount of time. It's kind of like Russian roulette. It could work, or it could hurt you, or do nothing. So you don't really know what the result of those programs are going to be. You don't really have an idea because most likely the plan wasn't developed specifically for you. And that's where it gets kind of tricky. I've seen people injure themselves regularly from different types of fitness programs, either that they found online or on social media or in a magazine, and they feel, hey, it looks okay. There are people that are really beautiful doing them, and so let me try this. But unfortunately, it doesn't really end well for them. And a lot of times, even our friends could be doing a program that they encourage us to do that winds up not being really good for us because we're not getting the results that they've managed to get from it. And I say, don't be disappointed if you don't get the same results, because not all exercise is going to work the same. I'm going to say that again. Not all exercise is going to work the same for all people. It's up to your goal. So the most important thing when it comes to even beginning an exercise program is understanding why you're doing it and what your goal is. For example, if your goal is to lose body fat, and you can do that, but you need to do an exercise that isn't high in cardio. Because if you start doing tons of cardio, you may lose muscle mass. And then in that instance, you're also slowing your metabolism down and ultimately adding fat as you're losing muscle. So the result is you get more flabby, and that's exactly what you don't want. So knowing exactly what you're doing and why is really important. So I strongly recommend that you have a really good understanding of what the goal is. And I guess you're probably saying, well, how can I create a goal for myself? Well, here's some tips that will help you to create a goal for yourself. So ask yourself, hey, what am I doing this for? What are my biggest challenges? What do I want to accomplish? And really dig into really why you're doing it. Is it because you want to look better in your dates? You want to look good in a suit? Is it because you want to golf better? You want to play better tennis or basketball? So your why. So find out, really grow yourself and find out why you want to do it. And then you want to get the real tangible things. Okay. So you want to know what your numbers are. And by numbers, I mean what your waist measurement is, your hip measurement, your body fat percent, your weight, your height, your age, your blood glucose level, and your blood pressure. You really want to know those numbers because it's important to know kind of what's going on the inside and have a good idea of, let's say, example, body fat. It's huge. You want to know what your body fat is. And with those numbers, you can calculate it, or you can do BIA, different types of methods to calculate body fat. But your body composition is key. So all those metrics are going to be really important for you to know where it comes to developing the right plan for you. So you're understanding what your why is, why you want to do it, that motivation. Then it's kind of what you want to accomplish. And with those numbers, you're getting information about where you are, okay? Because those numbers, like your waist size, that tells you where you are. And if it's big or small, you know that. And if it changes, you know that too. And the numbers are wonderful for helping you to determine once you start a plan, once you start training, if it's working for you and getting you the results that you want. And that's huge. So after securing your numbers, the next thing you want to do is evaluate your injuries. So if you had a skateboard accident, or you're noticing that your right ankle keeps rolling, or your elbow hurts, or you have pain in your shoulder, you sleep and you have pain in your back, really evaluate your injuries in places that you have discomfort. And it doesn't matter if the pain you're experiencing is dull pain or really sharp pain, you want to note it because it's going to be really important on how you proceed later. Okay, so make a note of where the pains are and really look everywhere. And I usually suggest you start with your joints. Okay, you want to make sure joints are fine. And we're going to go toes because that's going to impact your balance, ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, elbows, and of course, spine. You want to make sure as you're going through your day and as you're really doing this, what I call it, this self-evaluation, that you're making sure that your joints are going to be able to do what you need them to do. So joint injuries are huge. And if you embark on doing an exercise program and you work through some joint injuries, improper form can result in a lot of cascading effects in other injuries as a result of that. So if you're loading weight or you're moving those joints that are not properly aligned or injured, you stand the chance of really creating even more challenges and more injuries for yourself. So take stock, really know what's going on where it comes to your joints. That's huge because they can be responsible for muscle imbalances and a lot of other things. So remember, look at that, really wiggle those toes, see if there's pain. Go up on your toes, your fingers, your hands, your wrist, ankles, knees, because all of these joints are very important when it comes to exercise programs. And a lot of us don't even pay attention to them. So make sure you put that on your list. That self-assessment of your joints. Okay. Now, I'm going to give you an example of a client that I had the privilege to see who really loves exercise, but tended to jump in really quick. I think a little bit too quick and a bit over her head when it comes to exercise. Now, her name's Sheila, and Sheila's brother purchased a CrossFit studio. Now, both Sheila and Dave are really competitive, and CrossFit provides opportunities to compare yourself with other people that are training. So you're kind of have all these really cool opportunities to compete, against people that you're training with. Now, if you don't know anything about CrossFit is a branded fitness regimen that involves constantly varied functional movements performed at high intensity. So that basically means you could be doing push-ups, jump squats, pull-ups, they runs, box jumps, deadlifts. So different types of exercises that are put together and they're done with high intensity. Now, it's advertised as it working really well, and it's advertised for anyone, all levels, all ages, and all abilities. Okay, it's kind of one of their taglines, and I do believe that CrossFit works, and I'm not a CrossFit basher. I actually love it. I think it's a great way to exercise, and I think it can be a lot of fun. And I think that's the real appeal. It's so much fun when you start doing it because everyone's around, the adrenaline is high, and where that's fun, that's also usually where there is a bit of a challenge, or at least that I've observed over the years. And the challenge is once people's adrenaline is up, they tend not to be as cautious with their form. Okay. And of course, in her case, she loves the competition. She did the program. She wanted to compete against people that were 10 years younger than her. And, well into her getting established the first few weeks, she wind up getting injured and tearing a ligament in her right shoulder. Now, after surgeries and physical therapy, she hired me. And I had the opportunity to work with her then. And I want to see one more time. I like CrossFit, but when you put high intensity together with a competition, the opportunity for form to be off and the opportunity for injury, particularly in a group training environment, is really high in my opinion. So if you're one of those people that just want to jump into an exercise program and go for it, hey, have a great time. But just know that depending on the program that you choose, you are putting yourself at risk. And if you don't have a clear vision or a specific plan as to why you're actually even doing it, if you're doing it just for the rush, okay, hey, that's a reason. So if you're doing it just for the rush, think about it. Is it worth a real serious shoulder injury or a real serious back injury or a real serious knee injury to you? So as you get older, it gets a lot more difficult to recover from these types of injuries. So though everyone can do it, no matter how old you are, everyone's not going to recover the same, and be really careful. And there are a lot of other things to really pay attention to. And when it comes to exercise, know your limitations. It's really important to do that. Know if you're not flexible enough to do certain exercises. You have to know that. And there are ways to know that. And getting with a fitness professional that does that kind of work is a really good way to do it. So I invite you, before beginning any exercise program, that it's really important to know the areas that you're weak and to have some type of support to get you there, especially in these 6 areas. Now, if you are going to have a hard time capturing the numbers, like getting your measurements, anything like that, feel free to reach out for support. So your measurements may be an area you need support, is number 1. Number 2, an area you may need support is understanding those numbers. Now that you have them, you've captured them, understanding them and knowing how they relate to the exercise program that you should choose. Okay? So number 3 is you may need help evaluating your injuries. You may want to know, hey, what exercise would you recommend that I don't do with this particular injury? Are there exercises I should avoid? Or how can I train to rehab that muscle or that group? Or should I be working with a physical therapist during this time? So you get to ask that question. And that is number 3. Now, number 4 is your independent evaluation of your current exercise program. Because a lot of people are doing an exercise program that they like, but they're not really sure if the program that they're doing is effective. So one thing I would highly recommend is reaching out and asking help and getting an independent review of that exercise program that you're doing. Or you could be someone, and number 5 is if you just hate exercise. If you're one of those people that the thought of exercise repulses you, you do not want to do anything that remotely seems to be exercise, then, there are great programs out there to help you with that. So feel free. That'd be a really good reason to reach out. Or if you don't know what's holding you back from exercise, because some people kind of like exercise, they're okay with it once they start, but they have a hard time just starting. And these are the 6 things that most people can use a little help with before starting an exercise program or really continuing one. So I invite you to speak with me. Let's explore your thoughts, your understanding of exercise and how you think about exercise, and knowing your process, because knowing your process is key to choosing the right exercise plan for you. Knowing who you are, how you feel about it, the things you want to do versus the things you don't is going to be really important to explore. So if you'd like to speak to me about your exercise challenges and successes, or the 6 things that I listed above, my contact information will be in the show notes. Hey, thanks again for listening to Your Health Moment. And I hope you join us next time as we talk about sleep and how important it is to get the results that you want with anything you're doing when it comes to your health.